Yes. So, in our continuous effort to make our investors more informed, and we have come up today with a topic of global investment opportunities. Our guest speaker for today is Mr. Vikash Wadekar from Motilal Oswal Asset Management Company. Vikash is a veteran of mutual fund industry with more than 20 years of experience and has been working with various organizations like ILNFS, ING, and a couple of fintech startups. He's been instrumental in setting up the BSE StarMF platform, which today is the leading platform for online mutual fund transactions. He is a postgraduate from Pune University and is presently heading the passive sales function in Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Thanks, Vikash, for accepting our invitation. And now let's hear from Vikash. What are the global opportunities for investors like us?
First of all, thank you, Dev Mantra and the entire team for giving us this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to talk to investors because you have to be unbiased, when you talk, discuss. We generally avoid selling any product when we talk to investors. It has to be more from the investor awareness perspective, where it helps the advisor as well as investor to take their decisions, and so it helps advisors, investors to take informed decision. And we generally try to connect what is the role of advisor in investors wealth creation. Okay, so and along with that we'll also talk about international opportunities and why we should be looking at international investments. The presentation I'm not going to see. So meantime, I'll just introduce the team. So I head passive sales in Motilal Oswal Mutual Fund. So we have set up a separate team on passive funds, where we believe that passive funds is actually helps investor to take. It has to be part of integral important asset allocation in client's portfolio. Okay, so I'm not going to talk here about active versus passive. Okay. We are not going to have a debate here, but definitely we'll have. I want to spend a couple of points in front of you, which will help you to take informed decision. Okay, and to understand the role of advisor. I'm not going to talk here about active versus passive. Okay, we are not going to have a debate here, but definitely we'll have. I want to spend. Because I am able to hear myself only. Help you to take informed decision.
One second.
And to understand the role of advisor. I'm not going to talk here about active versus passive. Okay. We are not going to have a debate here, but definitely.
Hello?
Yeah. Shall I begin now?
Huh?
Yeah, I'm not able to hear now. Yeah. It's good now. Okay. So I have one slide here. Hope this is visible to everyone. Now, what is the slide? This slide we are talking about, generally investors believe that and know that when let's look at the right hand side graph, the 3-bar graph. When investor believes that when valuations are lower, okay, this is actually US data. It is a study of long-term data which we have studied here. You can see that data from 1935 to 2017. It's a long data which we have studied. So what this data says that if valuation is lower, investors make good return. And if valuation is slightly, slightly expensive, investor makes lesser return. And when valuation is very expensive, like P is about 20, generally investors don't make money or make lesser money. Okay, this is the general observation which investors has. But there is another study that we have done, which you can see on the left hand side. So what investors try to do is always try to time the market. They want to look at when the markets are lower, then only I'll invest. When markets are high, generally we don't want to invest because we don't make money. This is what the right hand study says. But left hand side study shows something different. Generally investors or advisors also want to look at which are the winners, and they want to invest in winning stocks or winning ideas, winning portfolios, like mutual fund schemes. So let's look at the first line. It shows that if you invest in last year's winners, okay, so generally what happens, we look at last year's performance, which schemes have done better or which portfolios have done better, and we want to participate there, okay, which is also called hindsight bias. So if you do invest in those, what happens? Yeah, you get good returns, definitely. Okay, but let's look at the other way around. There are other guys who also look at bottom fishing. Okay, they want to look at those portfolios which have not done well in last year. Okay, so they are expected to do well in next year. So that is called bottom fishing. Okay, so if you invest in that bottom fishing, what happens? You may definitely better return than winners. Okay, so this portfolio, the second portfolio is better than the first portfolio. Let's look at the third portfolio. This is now irrespective of bottom fishing, irrespective of winner, irrespective of bottom fishing. If you keep investing in the same asset allocation for longer period, you make better returns. You make better returns than these two. What I'm trying to say that we're trying to say that if valuations are higher or valuations are lower, or you want to invest in previous years winners or previous years laggards, you actually make good money by way of asset allocation by a disciplined investments. Okay, so we are going to talk about asset allocation also. Quick slide, couple of slides I want to share, and then we move to the today's topic. So here there are two types of allocation that we see: strategic and tactical. Tactical are generally when markets are very volatile and clients or advisors suggest to take a short-term calls. But if you look at the strategic allocation, this is the data which shows the strategic allocation actually helps investors and advisors to maintain good portfolio and make additional returns on the portfolio. So discipline is everything. Yeah. Now we have covered here different asset classes or different way of investments like large cap, multi cap, mid cap, small cap, long short. All the strategies we have covered here. Okay, and we have you can see the return. There are almost 4 years returns of all the portfolios. Let's look at only these last four portfolio: large, multi, mid, and small. Okay, you definitely see a return differential in all the portfolios because based on their risk. But there is very important thing that which we have to look at is along with returns, along with maximum return, we should also look at the minimum returns or negative returns. Investors generally don't look at those, how much a portfolio can lose. Investors only look at how much a portfolio is actually winning or how much is the maximum return. So you may invest in a portfolio of mid cap, which is like 43% positive return it has given, but it may also give you 16% negative return. You may want to look at small cap, which is 49% positive return, but maximum return, but you have to also be prepared for a negative return of 19%. This is where we have seen investors lose patience. Okay, now advisor is actually trying to do a better asset allocation for you, and any of us asset allocation generally in long term. But when you want to look at this higher return, you also have to be ready for negative returns. If you don't want to do that, then you have to, if you don't want to face these negative returns very often, then asset allocation actually helps you to make consistent return, less volatile return. We have one study which we have done of 4 asset classes. Okay, this is a study in front of you. What we have done, we have taken 4 asset classes: equity, gold, debt, and liquid or cash, you can say. Okay. What we have done here, if you invest in these all asset classes individually, so this is 17-year data, 2003 to 2017. Okay. So if you invest in 17-year, equity would have given you 15% return, 14.9 approximately. Gold would have given you 12% return. Debt would have given you 7% return, and liquid would have given you 7% return. This is again hindsight data. This is historical data. But what would have happened if you would have stayed only in equity? You would have lost heavily in 2008, 2011. Okay, 52% negative return, which is very difficult to manage and digest. 2011, 25% negative return. Okay, let's look at 2016, just 3% return, and 2018, 3% return. Okay, so what we have done here, we have taken all these asset classes in equal proportion: equity 25, debt 25, gold 25 and liquid 25, and you have to invest or reallocate or maintain the allocation same next year also. So equity goes up, you have to bring down equity to 25%. Okay, if gold goes up, you bring down gold to 25%, or make it equal allocation by adding additional investments. Now what happens, let's see. So if you just go on asset allocation, maintaining this discipline every year on year, calendar year, okay, see what would have happened. Look at these returns. This portfolio you would have lost only once, which is not even 1% in 2008. Okay, that is the power of asset allocation. And look at the CAGR return which you would have got was 11%, 11.1%. Now, if you would have invested in any asset class, single asset class, these two asset class definitely would have not helped you to beat inflation. But gold also, if you see 1, 2, 3, 4 years, gold gave very low returns, almost zero return or negative return. Equity would have given you twice negative, huge negative returns. Okay, but if you have invested in asset allocation for with a consistent discipline approach, this kind of return this portfolio would give you 11.1%. That is what the power of asset allocation, what we are talking about. Okay, you have to just maintain the asset allocation, just maintain discipline. Don't worry about what is happening in your portfolio longer term. Now we generally hear that gold don't give you good return, but look at, out of 17 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, gold was top performer. Then after that, another 6 years, gold was second top performer. So you can't ignore a particular asset class because it has not performed for a few years. Okay, so that is what you have to discuss with your advisor. What is the best asset class should be that you should be investing in? And one more slide, I have just debt equity asset allocation. So now there are 4 assets. Gold also was there, cash also was there, but let's look at only 2 asset classes, debt and equity. So in this portfolio, equity is 25%, next is equity 50%, and third equity 75%. Let's see how your portfolio looks like. Let's look at 7-year return. Equity 25 would have given you 8.5% return. Equity 50 would have also given you same kind of return approximately. Equity 75% would have given you almost 10% return. Okay, now the interesting part is the next column or the below row. See what are the losses you would have had in this portfolio. It would have been just minus 12%. Okay, in this portfolio would have been minus 28%, and in this portfolio return would have been negative minus 44%. Okay, maximum losses. So what are we trying to show here? See, these two portfolio are not showing significant return difference. But the difference here is the negative return. Now, if you're ready to move for this kind of asset allocation and ready for this kind of negative return, you should be investing in this portfolio. Okay, but when you have slightly higher goal, when your advisor tells you that no sir, you need a higher percentage of return on your portfolio, you should be having higher equity allocation or any particular asset class higher, then you should be ready for minus 44%. You don't have to worry about minus 44% return because your advisor is managing your portfolio. He is making sure that that 1.5% extra your return you are getting from these two portfolio is required to reach to your goal. Okay, so you have to show some confidence to your advisor that you shouldn't be, in times of volatility, you shouldn't be getting affected. Okay, so this was all about asset allocation I wanted to cover. Now, can we have the international fund slide? If you have any questions, I think there would be some chat column. You can keep recording your questions there. So as soon as the presentation is over, I can start addressing them. Okay, so till the time the next presentation starts, let me give you background of that presentation or that topic which we are going to talk about today. So in asset allocation, we have to have different asset classes. Now you have to close this presentation. So we have to have a proper balance of different asset classes, whether it is equity, gold, whether it is debt, cash for that matter, or international investments. So today we are going to talk about international asset allocation and why it is required in clients' portfolio. It's a new asset class which was there for long term, but investors have not got exposed to that asset classes. Now, very important reason why we should be looking at international asset allocation. The first point is we are stuck in lockdown, but you will be surprised. I'll show some of the brands in front of on the screen in a few minutes when that slide is open. That some of the brands are actually making good amount of returns. Their revenue have gone multifold. Their business have gone 10 times in last 6-7 months. And in lockdown, you'll be surprised that the world is functioning because of these brands. These brands are helping us to invest in to work online. These are some of the brands are technology brand, some of the brands are communication brands. Okay, some of the brands are also healthcare brand, which are helping us to actually find some medicines, or take care of or they're working on new inventions on the medicines. So these are the product. No, not this one, international one. Okay, so let the presentation come in. So some of the brands have actually played a crucial role in last 4 months of lockdown, when world is stilled, but world is still functioning. Let's take an example of today's presentation. You are sitting at your home, and you are still able to attend this presentation. Is because of the technology. Okay, so technology is playing huge role in this lockdown. Not only that, some of the international brands, like you must have heard Coca-Cola, okay, or you must have heard online payments like PayPal, or Johnson and Johnson, or Procter and Gamble. These have become like day-to-day brands for us. Not only that, let's look at how our TV looks like now. Television, our television has moved from normal cable to Amazon Prime, because most of the shows on television have stopped. Our normal TV actually got shifted to Netflix. Okay, so why that has happened? Because these are the new innovative brands which are actually playing a big role in today's life. Yeah, I'll operate now. Thank you so much. Yeah, look at these brands. Whether it is Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, our social media, or in fact our life, which used to be social, has become on social media. Okay, whether it is Intel, Cisco, WebEx, the communication platform, all these companies are actually playing a big role in our lockdown period. These brands have not only helped, we are known to these brands only during this lockdown, but these have become integral part of our life. These are known to each household in not only in India, but a lot of emerging countries and developing countries. What does that mean? These brands are actually global brands. This is the first important reason. So far we have been their consumers. Okay, but this is an opportunity that we can invest in these companies and become part of their growth. That is exactly what we're going to talk about, and why we should be having international asset allocation is to have these kind of brands and their growth in our portfolio. The second important reason is, when you invest in India, where do you invest? You invest in only 3% of world GDP. So India is 3% of world GDP. So you invest in large cap or mid cap or small cap. Okay, you still exposed to only 3% of the world GDP. But when you add another country, so we have taken here USA, okay, because most of these brands are actually USA brands, which you're going to talk about. Those brands are, if you add, so you add 24% of world GDP in your portfolio. So 3% India and 24% world GDP, you are adding 27% world GDP in your world GDP in your portfolio. It's a fantastic combination. Not only that, you're also exposed to the world's largest GDP and India, which is one of the fastest growing GDP. Okay, it's a great combination to have in your portfolio. So to getting diversified out of India is first important reason. That's why you should be investing in international. Another very important reason is asset allocation. We just spoke about asset allocation, the importance of asset allocation. We have let's look at here. We have covered here Nifty 500, okay, which is the entire equity market, almost 96% of equity market of India. Let's look at their correlation with S&P 500. See, it is just 22%. Okay, Nasdaq. These are both. These are the international indices. So their correlation with Nifty is 17% or 0.7. You can say both 0.1, 0.7. You can say both. Okay. Lower correlation is better for poor portfolio. Let's look at gold. Gold has almost zero correlation with Indian equity, and GSEC has almost 8%, 8.5% correlation. So lower correlation means if equity moves in a particular pattern and the other asset class moves in a different pattern, it is not bothered with the movement of a particular asset class. So if equity gives you 10% return, gold might give you 0% return, gold might give you 20% return. Okay, that is called lesser correlation. And when you add different asset classes in your portfolio, we have just seen in the previous presentation that when you add gold, equity, and debt and liquid or cash, our returns are much better. Our returns are lesser volatile. So these are the two asset classes. These are also closer to zero, like Nasdaq and S&P. When you add, your portfolio actually gives you better return. Now, why we should be investing internationally is let's look at hindsight. If you look at 3-year or 4-year returns of international funds, international markets, they have been fantastic. Okay, Indian market have not been performed for over a decade now. 7-8 years, decade, we haven't seen a good amount of returns, but international funds have performed really well. So if you have invested say last 3 years in international funds, you would have lost lesser money in this pandemic. Whatever happened in March, April. But those who have invested only in equity or that too only in India, they have lost huge money. Okay, because you are exposed to only one asset class. So that is why you should be investing in international, because of lower correlation. Another important reason of why lower correlation. Let's look at Indian equities. Indian equities, if you look at Nifty, you will see majority stocks are financial services. Okay, then consumptions, then energy, and then you have some few IT stocks. Okay, let's look at international. Internationally, the major sector is IT, because that economy is a developed economy. Then communication services, consumer discretionary, and pharmaceuticals, or healthcare they call. So both these portfolio, India and equity, are very, very different, and that is why they should be both of them should be part of your portfolio. Another important reason is exposure to currency. So far we have not noticed that our consumption pattern has gone from INR to USD. So you will be surprised. How can we say that? Exactly, because it is not seen. Now, whether I'm using a Zoom platform, online platform, or whether I'm using Netflix, or whether I'm using Amazon Prime, though I am paying in INR, but money goes to them in USD. Not only that, the products which we use, like Microsoft or computers or Nvidia or these all softwares, Apple products. Okay, all these products are actually, most of the products are imported, and that is why they are becoming very expensive. Let's take an example of Apple phone. Apple phone 10 years back it used to cost 40 to 45,000. Now it is costing 1.5 lakh rupees. So why is it so? It is because of the currency. The dollar, which has appreciated in last 10 years or 15 years so much that our purchasing capacity has gone down. Not only that, let's take an example of kids. Kids studying abroad in international universities. Last 10 years, the same fees have gone 6 to 7 times. Not because the fees have gone substantially high, but because the dollar, which has gone appreciated so much, that the fees that we are paying, we have to pay 6 to 7 times. Okay, so far we have been consumer of USD, consumer of US dollar, but this is an opportunity where by investing in international funds or international markets, your money which gets invested in USD and comes back in INR. So if dollar grows, your return also grows. Okay, I have a slide. Okay, I'll just share with you. Yep. So this is the slide. So let's look at here. These are the INR USD returns. Okay, calendar year wise for last 10 years. If you will see, only 2010 and 2017, the dollar has actually depreciated. Otherwise, all along the dollar has appreciated. And see how your returns would have changed or affected. Let's take in 2011 example, where S&P 500 US in USD would have given 2% return. But if you have invested in India, these 18% return would have added, and your return would have been 21%. In Nasdaq, for that matter, Nasdaq has given just 3.5% return. But when you add this 18%, the same return goes to 23%. Okay, so this is how your returns are getting increased. When indices don't do well. Okay, for that matter, last 6 months, the S&P has given say 4% negative return. Okay, S&P has given 9% negative return. But since dollar has given positive return 6%, your returns are better. In Nasdaq also same thing. Let's look at this graph. If you have invested in dollar, you would have your portfolio would have gone 3 times, and in INR it would have gone 5 times. In Nasdaq, it would have gone almost 8 times. Okay, so this gap is actually the dollar appreciation. Okay, now let's look at what are the opportunities that we have. So the first index what we have is S&P 500. Okay. So what is this S&P 500 is all about? So S&P 500, whenever you look at India, we talk about Sensex and Nifty. It is the same way when you look at US, to look at what's happening in US market, we talk about S&P 500. So it is bluest of blue chip stocks. Now the top of leading 500 companies, all blue chip companies. Not only that, if you look at the kind of money which is they are managing, the top 4 passive funds are based on this index, and the kind of money it is managing is more than $10 trillion, which is 3 times of our India GDP. Okay, it's a huge money which is managed on this index alone. Not only that, you look at investment gurus like Warren Buffett, Burton Malkiel, John Bogle. They recommend S&P 500 investment because it's much simple. And S&P 500 has been beating all the active strategies in US, or almost 90% of the strategies that's beaten. So 90% of the time, this index has given better return than active funds in US. Let's understand more about this index. So this is a very long track record. This index was launched in 1957. So 63-year-old track record. Okay, it's a longest track record after Dow Jones. Dow Jones was the first index, then this is the second longest index. Okay, pure large cap exposure, and very importantly, 40% of the sales of S&P 500 are actually coming from foreign countries. So all 500 companies, 60% revenue only coming from US, 40% coming out of US. What does that mean? You are not investing in US only, you are investing in those companies which are globally present. Okay. And of course, 2 reasons which we discussed, dollar hedge, we get dollar returns, and very low correlation with Indian equity. Let's look at this index more closely. Yeah, so these are all top 10 stocks or top 10 weightages. So if you will see, IT is major here, 26% almost, followed by healthcare, which is 15.5%, then consumer discretionary 11%, and consumer communication services 11%. Then for the financial, consumer staple, industrial. So it's a very well diversified index. Let's look at top 10 stocks. These are and their weightage is 26%. Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google. Alphabet is actually Google. Johnson & Johnson, Berkshire Hathaway, which is the financial company, Visa, and JP Morgan. You can't beat these companies. These are giant companies, and that is why they should be part of your portfolio. Now, why passive approach in international funds? So all of you would know that finding a consistent fund manager in Indian market is very, very difficult. You know that some of the funds do well this year, then they don't do well next year, then some other funds do well next year, and they keep on changing. But if you look at index is a beautiful indication of economy, what is happening in economy. These are some of the sectors, different sectors, and how they have moved in last 10 years or 10 years in this index. So if you see last 5-6 years, there's a new sector which has evolved, which is there's a blue line, which is a real estate sector. Then the gray line which you see here, which is a communication sector, which has actually suddenly got weightages from almost less than 1% to almost 11% in last 2 to 3 years. Okay, energy sector, which used to be like 10%, now suddenly has gone down to less than 2.5%. Okay, this is what the beauty of index. The index manages itself. You don't have to worry about the good stocks come in and bad stocks go out. So that is why passive investment is, and another important reason is passive investment is the cost of fund management much lesser. You are paying almost 1/3 of the cost when you invest through a passive fund. And of course, these indices have been doing fantastic. They've been beating all global indices, all active strategies. So that is why passive approach we are recommending. And this is what we discuss about 42%. Only 57% is a domestic sales for these companies, and 42% sales is actually coming out of global countries. So these companies are actually global stocks, which we are going to invest in. Another index, which is Nasdaq 100, a beautiful index. So this index actually invests in domestic and international non-financial companies. So these are non-financial companies, no finance, no NBFC will be part of this index. Companies basically focusing more on IT and telecommunication. Okay, but it also looks at those companies which are innovative and they are well known in technology and well known in forefront in innovations, like Amazon, Starbucks, Tesla. They're all highly innovative companies. Their product model, their business model, and all. And technology giants like Apple, Microsoft, Intel, Alphabet, and Intel, and Facebook. Because of them, the world is in fact functioning now. So, as we discussed, in S&P there are 500 stocks, but in Nasdaq there are 100 stocks. But the stocks, the sectors, if you'll see, the sectors are more or less same. IT, but the weightages are different here. Almost 47% in IT in Nasdaq, communication 20%, consumer discretionary almost 17%, then healthcare, which is almost 8%. And let's look at top 10. The top 10 stocks weighs almost 55%, and these are all giant. Again, IT, communication services. Amazon is in consumer discretionary. Okay, then we have Pepsi, which is consumer staple, Netflix, and Cisco System. Okay, so this is also a beautiful index. In fact, this index has beaten all global indices. All global indices. Not a single country has beaten these indices. Not a single active strategy has beaten these indices. Because of course, the weightage is in information technology, and that too large cap companies. These are all large cap companies again. There is not a single mid cap company in this index also. Now, if you ask me about valuation, in pandemic, yes, the valuation looks very blur. They are not the right indication. But let's look at what has happened in last 4 months. The suddenly equity market in US picked up. It has done well, but it has done well on the back of major three to four sectors, which is IT, communication, consumer discretionary, and fourth is healthcare. Okay, especially it is dominated by IT and communication services. So because of these two sectors, the world is actually functioning. That is why currently, if you look at valuation, it looks slightly expensive. But world knows that these are the company, and very if you've seen very recent results, all these IT companies have given multifold business. For the matter of Zoom platform, Zoom online services has shown 10%, 10 times growth in last 6 months. Okay. I think Apple has shown 5 to 6 times growth in quarter on quarter. People thought Apple is very expensive, but in lockdown, people have actually bought more Apple products. Okay. So currently, valuation looks very expensive, but because of the demand and because of their business model and because of their uniqueness, these companies are actually going to function, rule the world. Now, another important function is dividend yield. We as an Indian tend to forget dividend yield. but these companies give fantastic dividend. Dividend yield is more than 2%. Okay, so when you invest in these international stocks, what happens is, along with international companies, underlying companies, you also get return from dollar, and you also get consistent dividend, which is 2% yield, okay, of 500 companies. Now let's look at the historical performance quickly. So if you'll see returns of last 10 years, these are Indian indices, and these are international S&P and Nasdaq. Fantastic. Okay, S&P has given 17% return, Nasdaq 24% return. In the shorter period also, if you look at, they have done fantastic. Okay, so it is not only for the returns that we should be investing, but because of the business model, because of the uniqueness of idea, and because of the lower correlation. And this kind of portfolio actually adds a lot of strength to your portfolio, because we have to achieve your goal. And when advisor adds international investments, he knows that these are very important to add returns in your portfolio for your retirement, or to reach out to your goal. A quick comparison between those two indices. So Nasdaq is technology heavy, but it is not a technology stock index. It is a technology heavy index, we can say. The number of stocks are 500 here 100. US market coverage, S&P covers almost 87%, whereas Nasdaq covers 37%. Okay, so concentrated portfolio. S&P is more diversified. It covers all the sectors, and Nasdaq actually covers only 7 sectors, because banking and financial are not part of this index, and IT weightages are higher. But another important reason differentiation is the business. So for S&P, almost 40% revenue comes out of India, but in Nasdaq, almost 70% revenue comes. Pardon, I used the word India. I should be using US. So for S&P, 40% revenue comes out of US, but for Nasdaq, 70% revenue comes out of US. So Nasdaq is actually a truly global index when you want to invest in. Okay, but it is slightly heavy on a particular sector. So on a risk management perspective, you should be discussing with your advisor what is your investment, what is your risk parameter, and then only you should be taking exposure to these indices. So ballpark figure, if you'll ask me, we put it in 3 categories. One is when you have a slightly aggressive equity exposure, or slightly aggressive kind of a person, risk taking person, then you should have 80% Nasdaq and 20% S&P. Why I'm adding S&P here? Because just to dilute Nasdaq weightages. If you are a moderate client, medium risk taker, 50-50, and if you're a conservative client, then you should be only investing in S&P 500 index. Okay, so this is about the major differentiation. I will just quickly cover about how you can invest.
Vikash, before we get into that, I have a query.
Yeah, sure.
In the global opportunity which you're talking about, and basically in the S&P 500 index and the Nasdaq, so what percentage of the individual's portfolio do you think should go into the global investments?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. I just missed out to talk about it. So when we were just looking at that asset allocation study, where what we did is, we have seen when you add asset allocation in equal weights, it's actually give you fantastic return. Okay, so in the study which we have shown, so here also, now if you add another asset class, so now you invest as an advisor, you have to look at all the asset classes, so including gold, equity, debt, real estate, and then international. Okay, so in that perspective, investors should be investing 20% if he is an aggressive client, slightly risk-taking client, of his entire portfolio, not only equity portfolio. And if he is a conservative client, then he should be investing 10% of his portfolio to international.
Okay, or is it
because if you invest less than 10%, what happens? The actual it doesn't affect your portfolio, overall portfolio. It's a very minute percentage.
See, today when you are investing in the global portfolio, it's purely an equity portfolio. So don't you think 20%, then overall the asset allocation goes to, say, if you are equally dividing it in 20-20 each, so you are taking 40% equity exposure in your portfolio?
this slide answers that. So this slide actually shows that when you are investing in India equity, international equity, gold, and GSEC, okay, all these have a very low correlation with Indian equity. Okay, so you are not investing only in equity, you are investing in asset class which has a lower correlation. Okay, so if Indian markets don't do well, you will not see the US international markets don't do well. You know, they have their own different asset classes or different sectors performing. You know, and major which I covered. You know, in India, major 4 sectors are your financial, then energy, consumption, and then you have IT.
Mhm.
Okay, and when you look at international, the IT is primary, which is more than 25% in S&P and 50% almost in Nasdaq. Communication services, consumer discretionary, and healthcare. In India, healthcare has no value. You know, in larger indices, broader indices, we have very minuscule weightages of healthcare. But there, healthcare is very important. You know, 15% weights in S&P.
True.
Okay, so that is why you are investing in 2 different portfolio. So they will not move, you know, in tandem. They will move very differently. And of course, the international portfolio, these companies are getting their businesses out of entire world. You know, they are not only exposed to a particular country. So tomorrow, what happens if Trump comes or Trump doesn't come? It actually doesn't too much bother to them, because they are making revenue out of all developing economies, emerging economies. You know, Europe for that matter, Russia, Japan, all over, all across. So that is why we are adding 10 to 20% of your asset class.
Sure.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah. So one is on the. I mean, we are basically talking about the S&P and the Nasdaq. So there are other global opportunities or the global markets. Which region do you think is moving forward? Like definitely, as you said, the last 3 to 4 years, the Nasdaq S&P has outbeaten the domestic market. But which other sector do you think, or which other region is promising for a global investor?
Okay.
And what percentage can he allocate?
Yeah, sure. So globally, if you look at, there are 3 major investment patterns you look at. It's actually 2 major investment portfolio. One is emerging countries, and second is developed countries. Okay, there are 2 major portfolios. And when you look at developed countries, US has a major weight in developed countries. Okay, developed economies. You know, when you look at Germany, in Europe, some countries are there. US, Japan. Okay, all these countries, the US actually, you can't ignore US. You know, the entire world GDP itself is 24%. In developing economies also, US is almost 70%. I'll tell you one study which we were doing. We were looking at to launch one index of top 100 stocks globally. Okay, globally, so which will include all the continents. It will not be only exposed to US. But US was getting exposure of 71% in that index. Because of the companies are so huge, their business models are so fantastic, and global reach is so outreach. That is why we launched. Otherwise, we wanted to launch, you know, actually a multi-country index. But if you are investing 70% in one country, rather than have a, that's why we launched S&P recently. Okay, so US definitely have to be part of your portfolio. 2 reasons. One I said because of their size. The second important reason is, you know, Warren Buffett in 2 months back in his AGM also he said, you know, you can't ignore US, and it's actually true. The kind of size and the kind of the money that country has, and the business ideas which are coming out of that country is fantastic. If you will see in this pandemic also, most of money has gone to US. Most of the countries, most of the FIs have gone their investment because it's one of the safest country. You know, it's like a safe haven. You know, they will not tremble like any emerging countries or developing economy, because you can actually keep faith of that government. You know? And it's a cash-rich company, you know, a cash-rich economy. So that is the another. So that's why when you have to look at global, you should be looking at developing economy or developed economies to start with. Okay, and if you see most of the investors in India, 99.9 or 99.8% almost people don't have exposure to international funds. The overall international funds exposure in India is less than 5,000 crore. Okay, in the kind of money which you manage 25 lakhs crore. It's a very, very small money which India is managing on international front. Okay. So when we are testing it for the first time, US is the best option, safe option. That's one. And when you are looking at Nasdaq anyways is a global index. It is available in all the continents. In fact, we are also thinking of two more products. We are also thinking of developed economies, ex-US. So it will not be US, it will have Germany, Japan, and all those global growing companies. And emerging economies also we are thinking of, where we'll have China, India, some bit of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, all these, then your Africa and all these companies also will part of that index. But very honestly, for Indian investors, we are so risk averse. So I would suggest we should stick to only US as of now to start with. Let them have the flavor, let them understand it more, and that is why we are more focusing on asset allocation rather than sir, these stocks are doing well, these index are doing well, please invest here. No, we are saying it has to be part of your asset allocation, long-term asset allocation, 10 years, 20 years. It is not a tactical call that we are recommending, and you should not look at tactical on international.
Yeah. So Vikas, you were talking about how to invest into, how an investor can invest into this. So can you elaborate a little on that?
Yeah. So I am already on that screen. So now, if you look at on the passive side, and that especially international indices, these are two major indices globally which talked about, S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100. And both the indices investments is only available through Motilal Oswal. Of course, there are a lot of broking houses offering currently. You can directly invest in those stocks through their platform. Okay, but you have to be very, very cautious. Here, you get an opportunity to invest in this fund in just 1% of the cost. You are paying 1% annually, and AMC takes care of all your legal approvals, all SEBI approvals, all SEBI compliances to make sure that there is nothing is hidden from the investors. Okay, so that is the best route that I can tell you to investment is through mutual fund route. So we have these two funds in 3 format. So we launched, in fact, Nasdaq ETF in 2011. Okay, but that was not so successful. 2 years back, when we launched fund of fund on it. So basically, this fund invests in our ETF only. Currently, this fund is almost 1,000 crore when we are talking. These are old figure, May figure, but the current data is 1,000 crore, and this fund is almost 1,500 crore. So what? And then we launched S&P 500, which is in index fund format, normal index fund format. So we'll talk about these two more, then we'll touch upon ETFs. So these two funds offer you to invest as low as 500 rupees in international fund, and when multiples of 1 rupee. So you can invest lump sum 500 rupees, you can do SIP also in 500 rupees, because we know that Indian investors are conservative. If I keep a 5,000 or 10,000 rupees, their major money may get exposed to international and they may not be comfortable. Okay, so that's why we kept it a lower ticket size. And with just 1% of expense ratio, you are getting exposure to this. You can do SIP, you can do STP, okay, you can do switches, okay, and that is the best compliance route we have. And S&P currently we are managing almost 400 crore when we are talking today. So within last 4 months only we got 400 crore. So that a kind of demand that we are seeing in international and these two indices, because again they are unique, not available with anyone. It's only available with Motilal Oswal.
Vikas, can you spoke about fund of fund and ETF just for the convenience and better understanding for all the investors. Can you tell the difference between the two so that?
Okay, sure. So when you want to invest on ETF, there are two options. You can buy any ETF which is an exchange traded fund on exchange. You can call your broker and broker can buy. Okay, so one unit is almost 750 rupees. One unit you can buy. Any multiples of one unit, any number of units you can buy. But for that, you need to have a demat account, trading account. Okay, and which we have seen in India, most of the investors don't have demat account and trading account. Okay, and again, you might have to pay brokerage, STT. Okay, and if you are buying a large volume, you may not get liquidity and you may get liquidity, but that will be at a cost. So you have to invest 50 lakhs or 10 lakhs, 25 lakhs on exchange. It might be expensive because market maker premium comes into picture. So in short, when you are investing in ETF through exchange, it's slightly expensive and it's not that convenient. The another route you can invest in Nasdaq ETF is directly come to AMC and invest, but that's a ticket size of 2 crore and multiples of that. Because ETF we have to buy a basket. So basket is of 2 crore and multiples of that. You can buy and sell through AMC, but that's the minimum ticket size that we have. So it's slightly expensive, a slightly bigger ticket size. Okay. So that is how ETF gives you. You can invest in an ETF, but fund of fund is actually the fund which invests in our ETF only. So it's like, I invest 500 rupees, you invest 1000 rupees, all put together, we accumulate that money in fund of fund and then we invest in ETF. So what happens as an investor, I can invest just 500 rupees and I get exposure to ETF. I don't need demat account. I don't need trading account. Okay. There is no brokerage that I pay. Okay. And it's much convenience. You can buy it through online. You can buy it through physical form. You can buy through any application. If you have online facility, investors can buy through that. Okay. So that's the very convenience format of fund of fund. So that is why we launched S&P 500 also in index fund format. We did not launch an ETF. So both these offer same. You follow the cutoff time normal 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock, which is the normal cutoff time, and invest through a physical mode or any online mode.
Yeah, in fact, just to add here, we at Dave Mantra, we've started a new platform by name OptiMoney, and we've been giving that convenience to the investors. In fact, yesterday also we had a global investor sitting out of Switzerland. He's invested through us using this tool. So it was so easy. So just adding on to that. Now, another query I have, which is basically now technology definitely is the name of the game for the next couple of years. Which other sector in the global scenario do you think could be interesting for an investor?
Yeah, so one is definitely technology, second is communication. Communication is again part of, you can say it's part of technology. They use technology platforms and then they operate. The communication can be a huge, big sector. We have just started communicating on online platform, but you will see now world will actually start doing this very often. So that's second sector which will be very big. Another sector is healthcare. Now, healthcare it's a very vast sector. The only problem why healthcare is not getting into global stocks, because of the patent rule or the laws. You will not see most of the US products coming in India, because here you launch a product, in a month's time a local pharmaceutical company can launch your product with your content. So that is why you don't see healthcare companies coming big way in India or emerging countries. But that is another very big segment which you will see growing like anything. Okay, but for that, stricter laws have to be there. Patent laws have to be slightly stricter. Then only these companies can become a global story.
Okay. And when you say communication, so like one is like companies like Zoom or Webinar Jam, or there are so many video conferencing platforms which have come. Now, what other kind of companies do you think will be part of the communication story?
So your this thing. Facebook is actually a communication stock.
Okay.
Let me just open my 1 second.
In the meantime, I would request participants, if they have any queries, they can just put it in the chat box.
Yeah. So here, see, in communication, this is Facebook and Alphabet. Apart from that, Verizon, Netflix, Walt Disney, AT&T, Comcast. Apart from these, your Foxconn, CenturyLink, Omnicom, okay, Discovery, Fox News. Okay, these companies are actually Baidu, which is actually a Chinese company. Okay, then Liberty. These are the companies can be a big story going forward. Dish Network.
So it is both to do with video conferencing and the media kind of
Media, yeah. So video conferencing and media, it's the way world communicates.
Sure.
So media also become part of this.
Right.
Twitter is also there in this.
Definitely.
Okay.
And now YouTube has become one of the, I mean, though it's part of the portfolio, but
Google only, yeah.
Yes, Google only. That's one of the biggest communication tool nowadays.
Yes.
So
Another question?
But I think we don't have much queries on this. I think you've done a wonderful job. Very simply, you have explained the whole concept of passive fund investment and how somebody can participate in this global and how they can take advantage of the even the fluctuation in the dollar. So currency fluctuation is also something which adds onto the portfolio and returns for the investor. So I think you've done a great job. Thank you for this. And thanks for accepting our invitation to be part of this webinar. And
it's always a pleasure to talk to investors. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you. And look forward to do more such events with Motilal Oswal.
Sure. Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vikas.
Thank you.
So shall we end the call now?
Yes, we can, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.